Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhurбhavасва Tatsavitra Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat Asto Ma Sadgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. ओम सहनावतु सहनौभुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ओम शांति शांति शांति. No matter which scripture we go through, one term is definitely there: vairagya, detachment or non-attachment. And that is the topic of today's talk. It's amazing that everyone says the true source of happiness lies within. Yet most of us continue to seek happiness outside in the world. Where? In our favorite restaurants, in the shopping. It used to be shopping malls and now it is on the internet. Or even a fancy vacation resorts. Ironically, we all seek what we already possess. The boundless treasure of perfect peace and contentment which lies within us all. It's also called inner divinity. This was discovered by the sages of ancient India. They call it Atma also, the true self. Even though Atma is the inner reality of us all, most fail to recognize it as the actual source of happiness. And that's why we continuously seeking that happiness in the outer world. This misdirected effort can make us extrovert, and it has. That's why our attention is continuously in the outside, which prevents us from looking within. So striving hard to find happiness in the world is like being late for a wonderful party and also driving real fast to get there, but driving in the wrong direction. To continually search elsewhere for happiness that you know lies within yourself is simply absurd. There was a great Indian sage. He recognized this absurdity and irony of conventional life, which he portrayed with biting sarcasm in verses of elegant Sanskrit. You might have heard of this sage's name, Rishi Bhartrihari. He was a stepbrother of King Vikramaditya. He lived a little bit more than 1500 years ago. He is best known as the author of 3 collections of 100 verses. Those collections are known as Shatkam. Poetry seems to be an ideal medium for conveying irony. Look at this translation of one of his composition. The translation says, "The pearls of my beloved's neck afflicted sorely the oyster." In this simple looking sentence, Rishi Bhartrihari jarringly contrasts the pearl's great beauty with the ugliness of prying them out of a live oyster. Collection of those verses, or 3 collections of those 100 verses in each. One category is Shringar Shatkam. He describes both the wonders and the dangers of romantic love. Shringar Shatkam. The second one is called Niti Shatkam, where he explores a wide range of moral and ethical issues. And the one we are going to go through today, or part of it, is called Vairagya Shatkam, where he praises the noble virtue of Vairagya, dispassion or non-attachment. Vairagya Shatkam. We can see in these verses what we have learned in Bhagavad Gita, what we learn in Yoga Vashishta, because these teachings take us to liberation, enlightenment, moksha. Vairagya is a part of our sadhana. So the 100 verses of this work were arranged by later scholar into 10 sections of 10 virtues. Each of these sections explore a different aspect of Vairagya by showing the utter futility of conventional worldly life and also the blissful delight of abandoning it. Because that's what Vairagya is. These are 10 sections. Let me give you the names of these at least. First one is called Trishna Dushan. The problem of desire. The worldly desires. Second one is Vishe Tyag Vidambana. The futility of forsaking desires. Number 3 is Yancha Danya Dushan. The degradation of beggary. Number 4, Bhog Asthir Varnan. The impermanence of pleasure. Number 5, Kal Mahima Anuvaran. The power of time. Number 6 is Yati Niripati Samvad, the dialogue between a monk and a king. Number 7, Man Samodhan Niyaman, instructions of mind. Number 8, Nitya Anitya Vastu Vichar, discerning real and ephemeral. Shiv Archana, worship of Shiv. And number 10 is Avadhut Charya. That means the saintlyhood. So this author, he looked at the works of this Rishi and for our benefit, divided it into 10 sections. Each section with 10 verses. I am going to go through only one verse from each section. And I will do my best to introduce with the translations in English, so that we can all fully appreciate Bhartrihari's humor, sarcasm, and profound wisdom. And maybe by going through it, little vairagya in us also can take place. So the first of the 10 sections is called Trishna Dushan, examination of the problem of desire. This is a pretty dangerous thing for a sadhaka. And what is the most dangerous kind of a desire for human beings? Is wanting the acceptance and approval of others. Sometimes we know what is the right thing to do, but we don't do it because we think, what will others say? As children, we seek the approval of our parents. As teenagers, we seek the approval of our peers. As adults, we seek the approval of our colleagues and superiors. So we have just gotten into the habit of seeking approval. And sometimes we change the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we behave. And what happens? We sacrifice our own uniqueness. And we just live in a very inauthentic and contrived way. According to this Rishi, the desire for approval makes you dance for others. Dance to their tune, as we say. Because desire compels you to adapt or change yourself, not for your own sake, but simply to meet the expectations of others. And this desire can make you suppress your true values. So in this verse, this Rishi addresses desire as if it were a person. Let me go through the direct translation in English of this verse. In fact, out of those 100 verses in this section, this is verse number 4. He says, "O desire, O vain desire, why do you make me dance for them? Their harsh words must be endured somehow by placing them while holding back tears and smiling vacuously, owing to their wealth and status, obsessed fools. Why do you make me dance for them? Desire, O vain desire." So this is a direct translation of that Sanskrit verse. Khalalapa sodaha katham api tad aradhan pare nigrehe ant vashapam hasittamapi shunyen manasaha krito vit stambha prati hat diya manjali rapi tvamashe kim parmato nartyasi mam. So this is what he's saying. Because we know constantly we worry. What will they think of me? Then we live in fear of being judged, feel pressured to avoid negative views. What would happen if you completely ignored the opinions of others and lived according to your own values? Think about it. Your own ideals. You might live more authentically and enjoy more inner freedom. The next section is called Vishay Parityag Vidambana, the futility or pretense of giving up desires. Because you know very well how desires can sometimes make you do wrong things. But we just tell ourselves, just this once. With these three words, just this once, you give yourself permission to do something that you already admit is wrong. And another thing is you deceive yourself into believing that you won't do it again, even though doing it once makes you more likely to do it in the future. It's clear that desire can overwhelm your power of judgment and cloud your ability to properly discern what needs to be done. So what did this Rishi tell us about it? He says that strong desires can entangle you in problems like an insect caught in a spider web. In this verse, which is a verse number 18, he says, bewildering is the power of desire. Not knowing the nature of fire, a moth darts into glowing flames. Due to ignorance, a fish swallows a baited hook. We, on the other hand, recognize desire's tangled web of misfortunes. We fail to avoid them. Bewildering is desire's power of delusion, he says. They say that wise people learn from their mistakes. But what do? We keep on making the same mistakes again and again. And that is a strong evidence of desire's ability to overpower our judgment and bewilder our thinking. Just this once. Number 3, Yanshaha Danya Dushnam. A reflection on the degradation of beggary. According to Bhartrihari, any kind of paid work is a form of begging. Why? He says only those who are lowly and destitute are in need of money. So if you need money to enjoy the pleasures of worldly life, you work to earn that money, then in a manner of speaking, you are a beggar, he says. But if you give up the pleasure of worldly life, then you won't need money. In this way, you can avoid the so-called beggary of work, he says. And the translation of this verse number 28 in that section is, those who live in cities of wealthy suffer the humiliation of begging. They become miserly because their minds are focused on pleasures. A smile arises from within as I reflect on their lives during breaks in my meditation, he says, while sitting on a stone in a mountain cave. Grav Shayani Ashna. Then section 4, Bhog Asthir Varnanam, a description of the impermanence of pleasure. The pleasures of worldly life are short-lived, compared to the lasting contentment you can gain by turning your attention inwards towards the actual source of happiness, the true self, the Atma. Yet, even when you misunderstand that, you might still continue to pursue worldly pleasures and neglect the inner self. So that's why in this verse, he reminds us of these truths and says that we need ongoing guidance from a wise, compassionate God. Because we forget, we get derailed very easily. So this is a translation of verse number 34. Pleasures are like breaking waves. Life can end at any moment. The delights of youth last but a few days in the company of lovers. All worldly life is ephemeral. Realizing this, the wise teach, dedicated to the welfare of all. Such effort is necessary. We need those kind of people in our life. Lok anugrah shleen manasaha yatnaha samadhiyatam. Part of that is Sanskrit verse. I know that my own Gurudev Ji spent most of his life, actually all of his life, which I witnessed, teaching many thousands of people. Many thousands. Lok anugrah. Section number 5, Kal Mahima Anuvarnam. That is the explanation of power of time. You can spend your entire lifetime seeking perfect contentment through various worldly pursuits, yet it always seems to remain beyond your grasp. It's almost like a horizon receding as you travel onwards. You think this is the end? No. So when you will finally gain perfect contentment, then, because we think that no, by going there, by having this, by meeting this, I'll be content. We are just chasing. So verse number 49, he says, people's lives are limited to 100 years. Because that's what the Vedas say. The lifespan for a human being is 100. Half of that is spent in sleep, and of the other half passes in childhood and old age. The remainder filled with illness, loss, and pain, consumed by work. In life, fleeting like a ripple in water. Where can anyone find happiness? Sokhyam kutaha praninam. Where can anyone find happiness? He says. All our life, if we just keep on sleeping, procreating, eating, meeting, where is the real happiness? As someone nicely said, life is what happens while you are busy making plans. The solution is not to live longer, not to be more successful in your worldly efforts, but rather to discover the boundless treasure of perfect peace and contentment that you already possess. Your true self, Atma. Next section, Yati Nripati Samvad Varnam. It's a dialogue between a simple monk and a stately king, Nripati. This dialogue reveals a huge chasm that divides their perspectives on wealth and contentment. Consider this. The presence of unfulfilled desires is the main obstacle to contentment. You feel perfectly content in the total absence of desires. Generally, you get rid of desires by fulfilling them. But a monk or a yogi gains contentment not by fulfilling desires, but by renouncing or abandoning them. A yogi withdraws from all worldly pursuits, turns towards the true inner source of happiness. So, Bhartrihari says to the wealthy king in verse number 53, I am as content wearing tree bark as you are dressed in silks. Our contentment is alike. Any difference is insignificant. But poor indeed is he whose desires are endless. Contentment is in the mind. So who is wealthy and who is poor? मनसेज परितुष्ट है को अर्थ को होता है. Who is wealthy and who is poor? Even a person who is quite wealthy might feel insignificant and disheartened when he considers the great wealth of the Ambanis and the Bill Gates. On the other hand, a simple monk who has renounced all worldly possessions and owns nothing feel great joy and contentment because of the complete absence of desires. Think about it. Next one is Manas Sambodhan Niyamanam. The instructions for your mind. We all know that talking to ourselves is sometimes a very powerful way to address dysfunctional ways of thinking. Our mind is susceptible to being overpowered by desires. So this Rishi shows in the next verse what a helpful conversation with your own mind might sound like. Talk to your own mind. He says, oh mind, be calm now. This is verse number 63. Oh mind, be calm now, turn away from the tangles of sense objects. Seek refuge on the path of moksha. that can instantly quell all suffering. Seek your true self. Give up your habitual waves of agitation. Never again seek fleeting, mundane pleasures. Oh mind, be calm now. Do we ever talk to our mind like that? Or do we just let our mind run wherever it wants to run? Ma bhiyo bhaj bhangram bhavratihi chetaha prasidaduna. Meditation is one of the best ways to calm your mind. As your mind becomes more and more calm, quiet, you will naturally feel more and more contentment. Why? Because a quiet mind is free from desires. As long as there are desires, it's not calm. Those desires are the main obstacle to contentment, as we have seen in the other verses. Next section is Nitya Anitya Vastu Vichara. Discerning what is real and what is ephemeral. This section's name also happens to be the first of the four main prerequisites for one who wants to become enlightened. This is a qualification needed. Nitya Anitya Vastu Vichara. Many people think that striving for enlightenment is something to be done later in life. After you have established in your career, after you have gotten married, after your children grown up, they have gotten married, after you have paid your debts, there's always something after. The problem is that by the time you have accomplished all that, you might be old, worn out to engage in the spiritual practice. The sadhana is not for the weak. Sadhana is not for the person who can't even sit for a long time. So that's why in the next verse, Bhartrihari warns. This is a verse number 75. The reason I'm giving you these verse numbers, in case you're interested in going through all 100, you can look up. When one's body is healthy and senility remains distant, when one's faculties are strong and vitality has not yet ebbed away, to gain enlightenment, the wise exert tremendous effort. And that's what sadhana is, a tremendous effort. Getting up early in the morning, doing the things properly, taking care of your duties. For when your house is on fire, it's too late to dig a well, he says. So we have to do the sadhana beforehand. Sandipte bhavne tu koop khananam paridyuma ki drisha. What a wonderful image he has given it to us. If you're standing next to your thatched hut as it burns to the ground because you failed to dig a well earlier, he reminds us here that a wise person does not procrastinate. That's what it really means. Do not say that I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. The next section is called the Shiv Archana. Worship of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was Rishi Bhartrihari's Ishta Devta, his chosen form of God. Suppose you were to grow old and arrive at the end of your life without having found perfect peace and contentment, either through worldly pursuits or through spiritual practices. Then what can you do? All you can do is pray, as Bhartrihari says. This is verse number 83. My dreams have faded away, and my youth has been spent. My virtues have grown barren, without anyone's admiration. Quickly comes the powerful, relentless god of death, Yamaraj. Oh, what can be done? Except for Shiva's holy feet, there is no other refuge. Ha gyatam madnaha madant kangre yuglam mukta vastihi na anya gate. Now we come to the last of the 10 sections. Avadhut Charya, the life of an Avadhut, a saint. Avadhut literally means one who has shaken off or abandoned everything in life. And Avadhut has no desire for worldly pleasures of any kind, having discovered the true source of happiness within. Therefore, Avadhut enjoys a blissful life or complete detachment. And over here, this great Rishi is describing such a life for us. Verse number 91. Wearing a tattered loincloth and a similar wrap, worry-free, living on alms, sleeping in the cremation grounds or forest, wandering freely without hindrance, introspective, ever peaceful, steadfast in the joy of yoga. If one is such, of what use is lordship over the three worlds? Kopinam shatkhand jar taram kandha punasta drishi nashichantyam nirpeksh bhaksham shanam nidrasham shane vane स्वातंत्रे निरंक्षगम विहरणम स्व अंतम प्रशांतम सदा सथैर्यम योग महोत्स अभिचयति त्रैलोक्य राज्येन केम. What is the use of the ownership or the lordship of the three worlds? Lordship of over the three worlds means mastery over the earth, mastery over the heavens and the space in between. Having transcended all three realms, and Avadhut revels in the fullness, perfection of Atma, the true self, the divinity which is hidden within us all. It's not only hidden in Avadhut, it's hidden in us all also. It's waiting to be discovered. Are we ready to do the sadhana? Are we ready to look within, not just running outwardly? These are beautiful verses, very delightful verses. It might help us all to spend some time meditating or reflecting on these verses. Because this is the bliss of non-attachment which has described so vividly. So these are only 10 verses, and you can imagine what the other 90 must be like. But look at them according to those sections. So let's stop it here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.